Well, what's up, everybody? This is I'm Ryan Thomas, if you don't know already, and this is Camryn, Shea,
Hello.
otherwise known as Life is Cam on
Life is Cam.
Instagram and other things. But um, yeah, we're if you haven't been following us, we're doing a series called the Follow Her series, where we're just highlighting different women doing cool things, and she's somebody that we've been able to work with closely as far as her brand, and we are collaborating with her to launch an apparel line. And we're really excited about it. But I'm gonna stop talking and let her kind of introduce herself and tell us about her. So, what's up, Cam? Who are you? What do you do?
Well, yes, my name is Cam. I kind of like to do a lot of different things. I have a lot of hobbies. I like to sing. I like to do makeup. I like fashion. And I used to do YouTube all the time. I don't really film as much anymore. But I used to do that all the time. But I definitely still enjoy like that kind of thing, just being creative and creating content. And I also am a big advocate for mental health. I love to talk about that because that's what I deal with every single day of my life. And I like to, well, the whole reason I ever really started anything that I do, but particularly, I guess, just social media in general, actually. But was my intention was to help others. That was kind of like the base of everything that I've done. And that can actually be really hard because you never really know what if you're doing what you're doing is like right, or like who it's reaching. But that's always like my intention, and it still is my intention. But I also think throughout all of that, it's helped me. I still do, I hate saying I used to, but like just so much more so than this moment, which I'm trying to get back into that mode. But I used to kind of use all of these things as an outlet, because they would help me a lot and let me be creative from my own home. So, yeah, I just am a creative person. I like to do a bunch of different things. I'm also into like spirituality and things like that, and just discovering yourself more, and confidence and like self-love and stuff. Just things like that, and I like to share that stuff with people because I feel like it helps them. But anyways, yes, and I really, my main goal is to have a career as a singer. But if that doesn't happen, then if anything, I would love to be like an entrepreneur, business owner, or a influencer. I hate that word, kind of. So, but yeah, that's kind of what I do. It's kind of long, but it's just hard to explain it shortly. But yeah, I
Yeah,
just
I
like
feel
to
like
share
that's
stuff.
I feel like that's pretty normal for our generation, or everybody. There's so many things you can do, so like easily. It's easy
Yeah,
to kind of do a lot of things. It's like the normal to
yeah.
be five different occupations. But
I know, but it feels so weird because people are usually have like a simple answer, like I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer. I'm like, well,
yeah,
I do this, and this.
yeah.
So I don't
Well,
know.
cool. Well, you mentioned one of your main motives. One, you have a lot of goals, especially for your
Yep.
age. You're like, how are you? Are you 19, 18?
18. Yeah.
18 years old. What are you guys doing with your life if you're not if you don't got goals like Cam? Um but I think it's just interesting. I to an extent when I was that age, I did want to be an influence on the world. Like I did want to impact people, but most of it was because I wanted people to see that I was impacting people, like you're
Mm.
raised and whatever. But I love that you were talking about how you're a huge advocate for mental health, and I think that's a a huge need. It's funny. I actually wrote a rhyme this week about it. Now that I think about it,
Really?
but yeah, it's just funny. But I think there's a huge need for people to find kind of health and a sense of I'm not alone in my struggle. Could you say a little bit more about what particularly your journey is with mental health and what it is that you deal with?
Yeah, of course. So, um, basically, I've had anxiety and depression for a very long time, maybe even sooner than like we found out because I was diagnosed with it about it was like 3 years ago. I don't even know time, but somewhere around there. Because I actually got like to such a low point where I went to the doctors and I was bawling my eyes out, and they were like, "Yeah, there's something wrong with you." But yeah, that was a really low point in my life. And I was diagnosed, and we already knew that though. Like, I feel like you just kind of know, but I will say there are a lot of people, particularly in this generation, who like to label themselves. And I don't know whether it's because we're actually talking about it and people are realizing, or if people are just pretending to be things that they're not, just for either like attention or just to say that they are. So I don't really know like how to, which way it is or what it is. But I feel like there's a lot of people who say they have things when they don't, and they don't realize that they don't want to have those things because you don't want to have you don't want to have any mental health issues. Like, it's just not fun. So I don't like that whole thing that I see going around about it. But I am glad that we do talk about it more, because way back in the days, it was kind of like very, very, very taboo. No
Mm-hmm.
one really wanted to talk about it. And it actually was like you're medically like crazy if you
Yeah.
have any of those things. It was actually like really bad. So nowadays, obviously, people don't freak out so much. But I do think there are a lot of people who aren't heard, and they feel like very alone. My cat. But they feel very alone and just not having any voice. And I'm saying this from personal experience, so I know this is true. And that's why it's important to me to kind of share that message, because for as long as I can remember, like on social media, especially, even, yes, as I got older, maybe not so much anymore, but I've always kind of shared like the darker parts of my life, not in like too many details, but I've never really shied away from telling people that I was sad, or like telling people that I was not okay, or telling people what I'm dealing with. I used to post videos about it all the time, and yes, don't go looking for them because most of them are deleted on my YouTube, but there are still a few that are up where it was like spur of the moment recording myself like crying or ranting about things going on in my life. And yes, that might have been a TMI moment, but I was like 14, so whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I just kind of think that that kind of thing is, though it might be annoying to some people, because trust me, I got bullied for doing it a lot. And I got told like I needed help, and people called me like depressed girl, things like that. Even
Yeah.
though I experienced all of that, I still kind of do that to this day. And I try not to overshare, of course, and I'm like older. But I don't know. There's just always been a part of me that felt like it's important to share that, because I didn't see anyone else talking about it. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a happy person. And as sad as that might sound, it's just true. And I think there are a lot of people that aren't happy people, and they feel pressure to be like a happy person all the time,
Yeah.
especially with social media. And I think it's okay to not be that way. And I hope that everyone that is that way will become happy and be able to come out of it. But no one is happy all of the time,
Yeah. It's like we
no
live.
matter no matter
It's
how
like.
attractive they are or whatever.
Mm-hmm. It's it's weird to think that it's like we live in a world where people literally make a job out of like posting about how much they have or how happy they are, and people validate how much they like their happiness and all that stuff. But it's, I think the thing that you said that was like, man, that's so, I think that just plucked a string in me, was you're like, I'm not a happy person, and but but that's okay. And
Yeah.
I think what that tells me is, I think the goal now is not so much being happy or looking happy, it's more so being content. I think there's like a
Yeah.
difference of like, I'm happy or I look happy, excited, I have a lot of energy, versus I'm not happy today, haven't been happy for a while, but I'm content with my journey and who I am and what I'm doing. And it sounds like that's what you are expressing through, your content, or even, all the things you do. And makes sense that you would want to be a musician, because that's literally probably the same reason why I did it. I think why anyone shares art, really, most people,
Yeah.
to connect with people and tell them like, hey, like, this is me expressing how not happy I am, but that I'm okay and you can be okay. Um,
Yeah.
so that's cool. So what are some of your, like, with all that, what are some of your goals this year?
So that's kind of like, that's such like a hard question for me because I honestly haven't even thought about it too much this year. And I think while yes, I do have goals still, I feel like every other year I've kind of thought about that a lot and like had like a list of goals and was just like, I'm going to accomplish this year, all of this stuff this year. And let's be honest, half of our goals usually don't happen. But I am also a big believer of saying that you can accomplish all of your goals if you really want it to happen. So it's weird, but I mean, there are definitely some general goals that I have, but I really want to take the time to actually create them. But I'll be real, this year has been kind of rough for some reason so far. Like I just have been in such like a mood, like
Mm-hmm.
where I've been unmotivated and like uninspired, and
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I think it might just be this, everything that happened last year, maybe just really, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. I think it's getting to people, and I think also already having anxiety and depression, I think it's worse for people who already have mental health issues because it's just very impactful, and well, me personally felt kind of like trapped and like kind of scared with everything that happened last year. Kind of feeling like the world will never be normal, or that you can't have stuff to look forward to. That's very
Yeah.
depressing, at least for I mean, for a lot of people, but for me it was very like scary because a lot of times I use like distractions or things to look forward to as a way to like push through, and I had nothing to look forward to. Like very little times there was something to look forward to, and I still think it's still in kind of a similar place. Although I did just find out today that VidCon is happening this year, and you betcha I'm going. So
Oh,
I'm excited for that. But and that kind of actually goes into like one of my goals is like I really want to go to that because that event, honestly, like it sounds dramatic, but it kind of changed my life. Like I went for 2 years and it was just like the best time of my life, like honestly.
what
And
about it was like
I
life
just
changing?
think like I found a place, like a community of people, even if I didn't like, know everybody or talk to everybody or like am not the most social person. I found people that I can actually talk to and not feel dismissed by for
Mm-hmm.
having these kinds of goals. And, when you go there, there's just so much stuff to do and a bunch of pictures you can take and moments and like events. There's just always something to do. And you're in California, so it's a little vacation.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, it just feels so real. And it made me just feel like closer to my dream for some reason. It just gave me
Yeah.
like an immense amount of like serotonin being there, and like I dressed up every single day. People even thought I was famous the second time I went there because of the way that I looked. Yes, they were like, I thought you were famous. And even one famous influencer who's kind of disgusting, by the way, he thought I was Lauren Gray, which I get compared to her a lot. But he actually thought I was her and came up to me and told me that. And it was weird. But anyways, I just really like it. It's just enjoyable for me. And I feel like myself there. I just feel like myself, and I can just talk to people, make connections. And I even sang on a little stage the second year there, and that was like a good accomplishment for me.
That's
but
fun.
Anyways, yes, I always go on a rant when I get into that because it was just such like
Big deal,
one of the literally happiest moments. Yeah. And I just fun. So yes, I want to go to that this year. That's a goal. And then some other goals would probably be to start my music career, because I freaking hate myself for talking about it and not actually doing it because of fear. I'm so terrified to do it. And I guess I'm just scared of people telling me that I'm a bad singer or that I can't do this or can't do that, or like,
there are enough bad singers out there that are getting millions of streams. I don't think that's gonna even. I mean, I don't think you're a bad singer, but like if you were, is enough. There's enough technology.
I could do it anyways now. Yeah, I mean, it's just such like a, I guess, personal thing, like something that I do. Like if I'm like anxious or something, I'll like listen to music to try to calm me down, or like I'll sing. Just it's always been kind of like my biggest outlet for me, like my biggest that I do in private, huge, even if no one sees it. Exactly. Like it's such a big deal to me. I'm kind of scared to share it with the world because I don't want anyone to take it from me. So, and also, yes, the music industry is very hard. And it's scary. It's a big risk to kind of feel like I can make this. This is my only choice, because my whole life I've only ever had one goal, and that was to be successful in the entertainment industry. And I wanted to accomplish that by the age of 18, but I didn't yet. So
that's a big goal.
I know I was kind of crazy for that, but I really believed in myself. I still do, but you know, I realize how hard it is, and I don't know. I just can't see myself doing anything else though. Like I really can't. Like I just can't. So that's still a big goal. Like I want to get somewhere with that this year in music, and I really need to find people to help me with that though, because I feel like I don't know enough to do it on my own. So that's been a struggle too, is to actually find people who want to help and believe me. But in the music aspect, but also going into my other goal, yes, is the apparel launch, which I have been looking forward to since we started. It's kind of crazy, actually, how long we've been working on this.
I know.
I just thought about it, like
since just like the world and how it's been happening, all of our circumstances.
Yeah, like we've been working on this since like December or something.
Yeah.
So, but it's been like a cool experience, because I know it's been a cool experience though, because I've never really collaborated on like an actual like project like this with anybody. And the fact that you guys were very, you know, generous and actually like I could tell you guys cared was just really cool, because I don't find that a lot. And apparel is kind of like a big project. I did not ever see myself doing it so like early on. I guess I imagined I'd have to wait a few years before I would actually have to pay people to like help me, and I would have to work with this big merch thing that whatever, I don't know, just this whole other process. But obviously I like this way more because it feels genuine. It feels genuine, and we all like contributed to this happening. So I just think it's really cool how it happened, how it's coming together, and I think that people are really going to like this and kind of like the story behind it, I guess. I don't know.
Yes.
But yeah, that was a
So
very
about the
long-winded. I'm sorry, I don't have goals.
no, I mean
I don't.
my goals change weekly, so I don't even know why I asked that question.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have even. But
I mean, I
those
have
are
goals. It's
awesome
just
goals.
like, yeah.
Yeah, I
Thank you.
mean I think those are great things. Like I think it's okay if you have one, two, or three. Like it's fine. But
Yeah.
about the story, just like kind of like the meaning and behind the art that's gonna be on your apparel. Um, what do you hope people feel or experience or gain from? Like, what is there a message that you want to be like experienced through this?
So I guess like the whole theme of it is like we're kind of calling it like Metamorphosis is kind of like the launch name. So I kind of picked that name because I feel like that's such like a like it's just such like a good bold word to describe how I feel, I guess, how a lot of people might feel, especially over the last few years or year. There's a lot of changes. I feel like a lot of people are experiencing personal growth and being able to take some time for themselves. That's kind of all you can really do in this time or in that time. Now it's a little bit better, but still not quite there. But for me personally, this kind of story is just it's personal because it's kind of my story. So it's just like we chose the designs to go along with it because not only is it like based off of me and like what I like and stuff, but I also think it represents something. Like we have one design with the hands and the phases. That kind of represents like the phases you go through in your life, and kind of saying like it's in your hands. You know where I'm going with that kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Like just remember that you are in control of your own life and you are going to go through things, and that's okay. And then, we have the other design with the butterflies coming out of like the dark circle or dark hole or whatever you want to call it. And then she has butterflies on her hands. That to me represents kind of coming out of like a dark time. You're kind of coming out the other side and things are just better there. And you have the butterflies because, again, it kind of represents transformation and change. And metamorphosis is a butterfly related word if you've never
Mm-hmm.
learned that in elementary school. But yeah, that's kind of what the designs, like the story behind the designs. But this whole launch to me is really based upon like growth and change and transformation and that kind of stuff. Like that's just the message that I wanted to have. And there's typically going to be like a message behind almost anything that I do because I'm just like that. I like to be really personal and obviously create stuff that comes from my heart or my brain.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It's just really, it turned out to be, more personal than I ever thought. Again, that my first apparel or merch launch would be. And it's also different because, well, I wanted to make this as unisex as possible. So where boys and girls will want to wear it. Um, which I
I love
picked
it.
3 colors and, you know, try to make the designs just as universal as possible, even though yes, the main target audience is women. But yeah, I just really wanted this to reach as many people as I could and as many people that wanted to have that could relate to that message because I think it's important and a lot of people are probably going through that at
Yeah,
this time, and
like
it's
we're
not
all.
something that only happens once either.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, change is a very common thing, but yeah, I mean that's basically the story behind it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it kind of I'd imagine people like feeling like they have some sense of belonging in a greater like universe and world, like where you know we're in a world that's constantly changing, and there's people around us
Yeah.
constantly changing, and it's kind of visually giving you a picture. It's visually a visual reminder to control, um, to kind of take ownership of your change and your transformation, which is really dope.
Yeah.
Um, well, cool. Is there um, anything else that you like want to say that I wasn't able to ask you about?
Um, I guess like overall, like I want a message that I want people to hear is just that I've been told so many times and still do like not to pursue certain things or to do something else, or that like your life has to be a certain way just because that person's life was or other people's lives were. But you don't have to have that. You can have whatever you want. It's just about, you know, actually working towards it, or even I personally believe in like manifesting and all of that stuff. So I think that it's possible, um, through that, and you can't just lay around and let it happen. It won't work like that, but you have to take action steps towards it, and that can be really hard. Like there are times like I don't even do that, and it's hard. Um, and but I always know in the back of my head, like, well, if you're not going to do it, then it's not going to happen maybe as soon as you want or the way that you want. And things might not always work out the way that you think or the way that you want them to happen. But a lot of times they can either happen in really bad ways, or they can happen in really amazing, better ways than you ever imagined. But I really just believe, like, you know, listen to your heart, follow your dreams, listen to your intuition, and just don't let people try to control your life or feel forced to have a certain life. Because I've kind of had that throughout my whole life. And again, still to this day, where people think it's not possible or you have to have a certain life and you have to have like a basic life, as people might say, but you don't have to. You
Yeah,
just
and
don't have to.
I love that. It's a it's a journey. It's like I love I hope people, gain from this, and even the apparel have a reminder, like, you know, even though you're in a phase like that may not look like where you're gonna be, it does look like what it needs to look like now for you to be where you're gonna be later. And
Yeah, exactly.
and as long as you just take ownership of the moment and the things that you have to do now, and like you said, I think it goes hand in hand with mental health, where I mean it literally goes hand in hand with mental health, where you know
Yeah, it's
if you're on
very.
your way and you're not happy, that's okay. Like you can be content that you're on your way, and that you can find this sense of like, even though you're not ecstatic about life, you're at least not confused. You're content that you're like on your way, and you're
Yeah, it's a
changing.
lot
And
of like acceptance, and that's
mm-hmm,
still something that can be, hard for me to do, but I think I've learned, like I've gotten better at like just having acceptance and being like, there's some things that you can't change, or you might be in a situation or in sitting in feelings or something that just aren't going to go away, at least in that moment, and you just have to accept it. And I also think, going along with that, people shouldn't try to always run away from their feelings. That's very common for teenagers to do, with alcohol or drugs or parties, whatever, things like that. People like to run away from their feelings and their experiences, but I've never really been like that. I think it's important to sit with them, as painful as that is. But it just, again, goes along with growth. I think with growth, with time, if you don't feel that way now, eventually you can get that way, to where you aren't always running away. um, but yeah, I think acceptance is also a big journey, and it takes a lot of patience, and I'm an impatient person, I admit that. So, but yeah, acceptance is a great thing to have, though. It really is. It's a great
Yeah,
quality.
absolutely. Well, cool. Thank you so much for what I mean. We've had so much fun with this collaboration, and
Me too.
this was kind of like the litmus test for us of like, is this something we want to do or keep, do with other people? We'll see how it goes,
Yeah.
and we've learned so much and we've enjoyed it, and I think this line is going to be a really it's dope. Like, part of me wants to like share it right now, but I'm
I
not.
know.
It's dope, and it's also like it makes you think, and I hope people think the right things. Like, I hope they think
Yeah.
about. I think if you look at it long enough, you're like, oh, I can apply that to me. So
Yeah.
I'm really
I want it to
excited.
be inspirational thing, not just like it's cute. It is cute, but it's
Yeah,
just also means something. So
exactly. It's like simple, but it's also like more than enough when it comes to meaning. Oh, cool. We're
exactly.
we're so excited to launch it. I'm guessing if you're watching this, it's either really close to being launched or out, or it's already out. And yeah, we hope you guys enjoy it.